Hi guys, welcome back to my channel. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about a topic that I've been super eager to talk about in this channel, and that is my experience being a third culture kid slash child. So, if you don't know what a third culture kid is, it's basically a kid that has been raised in a country other than the country of nationality. So for example, for me, I was born in Venezuela, but I was raised in over 4 countries. Those countries are obviously my country of birth, Venezuela, Portugal, England, and Panama. So to tell you a little bit about my story, like I said, I was born in Venezuela and I was raised there until the age of 9. And up until that point, my life had been absolutely just like average, a normal kid's life. Most of you have probably heard that Venezuela is not a very safe country to live in. And so because of that, when I was 9, my parents decided that it was best for us if we left the country and immigrated and lived somewhere else. For some really weird reason, they picked a country that had absolutely nothing to do with the country that we had been raised in for most of our lives. So if you know Venezuela, you know that it's a very hot country. We speak Spanish. They, for some weird reason, decided that we were going to move to England. Now, like I said, this was very weird and random for us because in England you speak English. Oh my god, my dog. And the country is very, very cold. They do have seasons, and where we come from, we pretty much just don't, okay? We have a summer weather like throughout the entire 12 months of the year. So moving there was a shock for all of us. I mean, it was previously planned, so it wasn't like we just moved there all of a sudden, but it was still a shock for all of us, I guess. My parents, they don't know how to speak English, and me and my brother were still very small and we didn't know English either. We just knew the basic things, if I'm being honest with you. And so when we got there, it was pretty hard for all of us. We had some cousins there, so we had relatives there, but it was just one family that we knew, and that was pretty much it. Like, we didn't have any other friends or any other family members in general that we could go to and talk to. So that was another thing that just made the experience overall hard for us, not knowing the language and not having people that we knew of in England. So we only lived there for around 9 months, and it's also very weird for me looking back because I didn't study for the entire 9 months that we stayed there. If you know England, you know that you first need to go to, I think, I'm probably wrong, the council? I don't really know. Where they will assign a school for you that's close by to where you live. And so they couldn't find a place for me for the longest time, and for like around 3 to 4 months I literally didn't even go to school while I lived in England. And so after those 4 months they finally found a school for me, and in my school nobody, literally nobody spoke Spanish to me. There was only, there was one girl that spoke Portuguese, and she was in my classroom, and there was another girl that spoke Spanish, but she wasn't even in my classroom, so it's not like we talked either way. And none of my teachers could communicate with me. So yeah, talk about rough experiences. But overall, I actually, looking back now, I don't regret living in England. I feel like it taught me a lot. I learned a lot of English, and that was the beginning of my journey as an English speaker. I started actually learning English when I lived in England, even though nobody could communicate with me. I still found ways of, I guess, understanding what they were saying to me. After so many like days and months of people coming up and trying to speak to me, some things I guess I started understanding, even though no one translated them to me or explained to me what they meant. After some months, by I guess seeing their body language and the occasions in which they would say certain words, I started picking up English like that. After 9 months, we decided that we were going to move to Portugal, which is my country of nationality. I only have 2 nationalities, my Venezuelan nationality and my Portuguese nationality, because my family has a Portuguese ethnicity, even though my mom and, well, my dad was born in Portugal, but my mom and me and my brother were born in Venezuela. We 4 of us have a Portuguese nationality. Therefore, I don't know, it just seemed obvious that the next option for us would be Portugal. So when I moved to Portugal, I was around 10 years old, and my parents decided that it was best for me and my brother if we both stayed in a multilingual school so that we could learn English and continue our education in English. And at the same time, I was starting to learn a new language, which is Portuguese. And so pretty much, just to clarify, I'm only fluent in 3 different languages, and that is Spanish, Portuguese, and English. And yeah, I started learning Portuguese as well. So at this point, I was speaking Spanish at home, English in school, and then outside of school, Portuguese, which is pretty damn awesome for a 10-year-old. And looking back, I really appreciate these experiences. When I was a kid, I didn't understand why I had to move around and why I didn't have a stable life and why I wasn't like other children. So after some time, after so many years of living a life like this, I understood that even though these experiences are harsh and it's very hard to go through these things, especially at a young age when you only want to, you know, speak to other children and have fun, and sometimes I couldn't even communicate to other children because they didn't even speak my own language. I have realized that these things made me just overall stronger and smarter than I am. I mean, I am super privileged to be able to speak Portuguese, Spanish, and English fluently. Like, that's insane. And I was super young when I became a polyglot, and I am very fortunate for that, even though I couldn't see it at the time. But moving on with the story, I ended up living in Portugal for around 2 years and a half. I did 5th and 6th grade in Portugal. Forgot to mention that I did 4th grade in England. So after this 2 years and a half in Portugal, my parents decided that it was time for us to move again. And during the summer of that year, I went to Panama, and I visited Panama for, not even joking, only like around a week. We only went there for a summer vacation, and we ended up moving there with only like 1 bag of clothes, and everything else we left behind. Even my dog, the one that was here, we left in Portugal, and we moved to Panama. Not Panama in the States, Panama in Central America. It was crazy, and we ended up staying there for around 4 years. I lived in Panama from the age of 12 to the age of 16. And in Panama, I did feel sort of like I had settled down, and I had made a really great group of friends. Like, the people in my classroom, they were absolutely amazing. They are by far the best classmates I've ever had in my life. I sort of got a sense of what a stable life was again, except sometimes life has other plans for you, and we moved back to Portugal last year. So currently I'm living in Portugal again. But yeah, that was pretty much my story. But it's only the beginning because I'm planning on moving to Germany next year. I sort of want to study there. I'm graduating this year. I'm in 12th grade. And when I finish, that's my plan. Don't even know if that's gonna happen. Life is very unpredictable. If there's something I've learned is that really, like, you can't plan life. It just happens. And so we'll see about that. Time will tell, but my plans are to go and move to Germany. Whether or not I see myself living in a country for a really long time, no clue. Literally no clue if I'm capable of doing that, because this is all I know. This has been my life from the age of 9. This has been my life. I'm a third culture kid, so time will tell. Time will tell if I can settle down and live in a country for some time. If I could choose between the life that I've lived as a third culture child and living an average life, which one would I pick if I had to choose? And to be quite honest with you, I don't regret living like a third culture kid. I don't regret it whatsoever. I can say that I speak 3 languages because of this whole thing. I would have never gotten out of my comfort zone to learn these languages if I didn't have to. And I've learned so much from other cultures and from the world. When I was little, I used to live in a bubble thinking that everybody lived a life similar to mine, and that is so not true. I've lived in places where people are not so fortunate to have financial freedom, and I've lived in places where people have too much financial freedom. So I have been able to sort of live my life and see the world for what it is and not for what it's like for me, you know? I like the way I've lived my life, even though it wasn't always easy. And that's pretty much it for today's video. Thank you guys for watching this. If you're still watching, please give it a thumbs up, subscribe to my channel, and I'll be back with more videos. Bye!